Hi there, Melanie Phillips here of MaduriMethod.com, and I wanted to throw a few things out there today regarding sugar cravings. Now, this is something that a lot of my clients struggle with and have a hard time understanding how to bring back balance to themselves. And from the Ayurvedic perspective, we have a few different ideas about sugar cravings. So I wanted to help you out if this is something that you struggle with and would like to overcome, because it can become a habitual mode that our body gets into and our psyche gets into, and that essentially we get so used to being surviving and living off of sugar that our whole system becomes habituated to that. So a couple of practical things that you can do: make sure that you're getting enough of the healthy fats in your diet. So that could be ghee, clarified butter, coconut oil, olive oil, all of the healthy fats, even avocado, things that are going to help you stay more grounded and weighted and are going to help to stabilize the blood sugar so that you're not going to be on that huge roller coaster ride with your blood sugar. That's super important for those sugar cravings. The other thing you want to make sure is that you're getting enough protein. Often I have clients that come and they're either vegetarian or they're wanting to restrict themselves in certain ways, and that can lead to unhealthy patterns and end up craving more carbs or more sugar. So make sure you're getting enough of the healthy fats, healthy proteins. It's essential. As much as you can, decreasing sugar and even grains, because grains turn into carbohydrates and essentially transform into sugar themselves. But I'm not a big fan of doing like extreme diets or pulling everything out of your diet. But what I would prefer to recommend is becoming more balanced in what you're choosing and increasing the healthy aspects of your diet instead of just pulling things out and restricting so much. I don't think that's the solution, unless of course you have a specific health issue that requires that for a certain amount of time. It's not a long-term fix though. So increase healthy fats, protein, fiber as well, so veggies, sprouted grains, seeds, berries, sprouted flax, all of these things are important as well to stabilize the blood sugar. In Ayurveda, we talk about the 6 tastes. Now, this is something quite different than in the Western model that we look at with food and nutrition, but in Ayurveda, we're looking at the 6 tastes, and those are sugar, or sweet rather, not sugar, sweet taste, which can include sugar, but we can also get sweet taste from a lot of other things. Like we would consider dairy sweet in taste. Certain fruits have a lot of sweet taste. Even vegetables, root vegetables, beets, carrots, yams, these things have a lot of sweet taste or quality in them. So you can still get sweet taste without having sugar. The other tastes are salty, pretty self-apparent, sour, where we can find sour taste in lemons, in limes, in soy sauce, in yogurt. All of these things would have sour quality. And then we have bitter, so our bitter greens, leafy greens, dandelion greens, all these things have bitter quality. Astringent, which is more drying, and things like lentils, legumes are astringent. And it's kind of like when you bite into a banana that's not quite ripe and your mouth does that weird little thing. That's astringent quality it dries out the tissues. So then we also have pungent, and pungent is essentially spicy. Now we need to have all 6 of these tastes in our diet and ultimately in every single meal. Now, according to your specific constitution, the ratio of those 6 tastes will be different. Now, if that sounds a little bit complicated, I would say just start by making sure that you've got all of these 6 tastes. Looking at your food, do you have something sour? Do you have something sweet? That one's usually pretty easy. We can get that through grains. We can get that through the vegetables, through meats, through nuts. So that one is usually pretty easy to clear. Bitter, you might want to add some turmeric on there, have some sprouted like alfalfa sprouts, something that is going to give a little bit of a light quality. Or if you're vegetarian, maybe you'll have lentils or legumes in your meal. But making sure that all these 6 tastes are there is important. Now, I come from a family of sweet tooth fiends, so I do love sweets, but my taste has also changed over the years. I remember that I used to really get these sweet cravings, and when I began to bring more bitter taste into my diet, they really plummeted. I wasn't having those cravings as much at all. So I would recommend just starting with bringing some turmeric into your diet. You can get powdered turmeric, even a quarter teaspoon. If you can handle it in just a little bit of warm water and drink it back like medicine, that's great. If you want to include that in your food, in soups or curries or stews, that's a wonderful way to do it as well. Or you could even mix it with a little bit of ghee and a little bit of honey and take it that way. And ironically enough, this bitter taste and bringing more bitter taste into your diet is going to help with those sweet cravings. In Ayurveda, we have a specific herb called Shardunika, and it is essentially the destroyer of the sweet taste. And that can also help if you do have an extreme addiction to sweets and are finding it really difficult, then that herb Shardunika can be useful. It also helps to stabilize the blood sugar levels, the glucose levels, and can be beneficial for all of that as well. So that's something to consider, but I think there's so many other realms as well, that so many other spokes of the wheel that you can get into bringing more balance in your life with. So a healthy probiotic can be useful. Again, with any of these things, you want to check in with your healthcare provider, but it will help to decrease the yeast that feeds off of sugar in your gut. So probiotics can be helpful. I don't like to use probiotics as a long-term solution. So if I have clients that come to me and they have to take probiotics for a long time, or digestive enzymes, to me that's a red flag that the digestive flora, the intestinal flora isn't functioning in its optimal way. So it can be a very good fix, but more of a short-term fix working with probiotics or digestive enzymes. So a probiotic can be helpful, as well as B vitamins can help to stabilize and reduce those sweet cravings. Exercise, of course, can't stress the importance of exercising. Yoga, weight training, walking, anything to build the bone density is going to be helpful. And getting that daily exercise will also help to release the stress, which is a big culprit when it comes to sugar cravings. We're in a sort of fight, flight, or freeze mode, and so we'll have our go-to. So by reducing stress and the cortisol that gets pumped out through the body and this hormonal roller coaster ride that you might be on, you have to look at the root cause of stress. When there's more stress in your life, you're more apt to just grab whatever foods, or you're grabbing foods on the go, you're getting home from work exhausted and just reaching for some snack food, some junk food that's there, and I totally get it. But when we can look at how our state of our nervous system and stress is keeping the perpetual cycle of grabbing sugar, grabbing processed foods on the go, then it takes a lot of commitment and kind of willingness to go back and say, okay, what areas of my life do I need to address? What aspects of my life, career, relationship, home life, whatever it may be that may be causing stress, so you're seeking that distraction or seeking that addiction outside yourself. Because sugar can become a very real addiction and is somewhat socially acceptable in our culture. It's not something that we're going to put big red flags up on someone like alcohol or drugs would be, but it can be so incessant, and it can really begin to affect our mood and our whole entire body. So weight gain and obesity and heart problems, all of these things can perpetuate from having a sugar addiction or just having too much unhealthy sugar in the diet. So from the Ayurvedic perspective, we're also going to look at decreasing the stress, as I mentioned, looking at soothing the nervous system. So alternate nostril breathing, oil massage on the physical body. It's called Abhyanga. This is important. I've made other videos about it that you can go and watch. Restorative yoga, breathing practices that are calming and soothing, and essentially cutting out anything that is aggravating. You know, there's a cycle. If you're having not great sleep at night and then waking up irritated or frustrated or aggravated or just exhausted, not having time to create proper meals for yourself, we all know, right? This is how the story goes, and this is how things move forward. So we have to break that cycle somewhere. In Ayurveda, we're also going to look at the essence of sweetness and the lack of that you might be feeling in your life. So sometimes what will manifest externally is a deeper need for that sweet taste, for love, for comfort, for self-assurance. So when we can ask ourselves in that moment, like, what am I really craving? If it's not about the sugar, Like, what is my need? What am I really wanting? Maybe it's connection. Maybe it's recognition, acknowledgement. Maybe it's a hug. Maybe what you really need is a warm bath with some Epsom salts and lavender essential oil. And when we can rewire our habits, our go-to, and have a little bit of space between action and reaction, between, oh, there's that pang, there's that sensation in my body that I'll often ignore, override, and I'll just go and grab the sweet. And then beyond that nasty roller coaster ride, sometimes then we loop into the guilt and the shame and the blame. Oh, why did I do that? Oh, here I go again. Well, I'm just going to give up. Whatever the story and drama that comes out of that habit, out of that physical action of staying addicted to the sweet taste. We have to look at the underlying psycho-emotional cause. So asking yourself, what do I really need right now? And stopping and pausing and taking a few deep breaths. Retraining yourself to have some space between that sensation in the body, that neurochemical reaction that will take you towards the sweet, and stopping and saying, what am I really seeking? And if you can give yourself that, maybe it's just getting outside and getting some fresh air, getting away from the computer, having a break from your desk at work. It can really be so many things, and knowing for yourself what is going to help redirect you, help reform the habitual pathways, the neural pathways in the brain that will take you either towards health and well-being or towards dis-ease and habitual patterns and things that are just going to take you in a cycle, and there's really no upward movement from there. Now, in saying that, I'm not saying at all that sugar is bad. We can look and say that white sugar, yes, is like a drug and can be pretty terrible, but there's a lot of ways that we can get sweetness in our diet and in our life that isn't making us go for the white sugar choices. Those are always going to be the kind of low-level choices. So I encourage you to start seeking out the sweeter, more natural tastes. Maybe that is honey or maple syrup is going to be a little bit more healthier. And if you're really on that line of saying, no, I've just got to cut it out, then I totally support that too. If you want to go into that space of taking sugar right out of your diet and feeling the effects that that has on your mood, on your metabolism, on your daily experience of being in your body and in your mind, then that can be wonderful. But don't feel that you have to go to that extreme to still get benefits, but really focusing on all the things I mentioned and spoke about the healthy fats, the protein, the fiber, bringing more bitter taste into your diet, decreasing sugar, especially those white sugars and processed sugars. Essentially any foods that are processed are pretty poor quality. In Ayurveda, we really look at like, what's the prana, what's the vital energy in a food? So the fresher, the more natural, the more whole that food is, of course, it's going to give you more energy, and it's going to be more useful and easy for your body to not only digest, but assimilate and break down and absorb the goodness from that food as well. Stress, I would say, is probably the number one on this list. So going back and looking at the recommendations for reducing the stress in your life, getting support if you need. If you feel like it's too difficult for you to do this on your own, reach out to someone for support. I offer Ayurvedic consultations over Skype or in person in Vancouver, so I'm a resource for you. If this is something that you would like support to move through, then I would be more than happy to be that support system for you, as it can culminate in other problems, right? If these different habits go on, and if we're not looking at the underlying root causes of what's really out of balance in our life, and that's what it is something's not quite right. Either we're not getting that sweetness in a deeper way in our life, so we're needing it externally, or there's just something out of balance. Maybe we're working too much, maybe our home life is out of whack, but looking at our whole system, the whole ecology of our life, the whole environment of our life needs to have some consideration to see where the blind spots are and where the holes are. So I hope that this video has served you, and if you got something out of it, please share it with your friends. And again, I'm Melanie Phillips. You can find me at madurimethod.com. Thank you so much. Have an awesome day.